fires one towards the goal. That's going to be gloved by Travis Ridgen. Well, this is more like it.
This is Slanging the Bizkit. Here's Travis Ridgen and Dave Wheeler.
He doesn't have the mullet anymore. If he had the mullet, it would go a lot better. It would kind of flow at the back.
Yeah, I used to have hair like down here.
Well, I got it in the notes. We'll get to that.
Oh,
don't worry. When was the first goalie coach that you had? Like, when do you have your first goalie coach?
I mean, so I had a goalie coach, Dave McKenzie. He was a friend of my dad's. He was actually like a Crown prosecutor, a Crown attorney, I guess you call it. And my dad was a lawyer and a defense lawyer in his early days. So the two of them kind of were like rivals in the courtroom, but friends outside of it. And I was playing for the West Fort Rangers, so he would have been my first like real goalie coach. Played for a team called the West Fort Rangers when I was 9 years old, and my mom was like, he needs like some guidance, like he needs somebody out there who knows what they're doing, because I knew nothing. And my dad played a little bit of hockey. My mom knew nothing about hockey, but my dad knew nothing about goaltending, so my mom was like, we got to find him a coach. And Dave, I guess, had played, like he was a pickup goalie or something like that. And so Dave McKenzie would have been, I guess, my first official coach. And then I had a coach, Rick Evoy, who recently passed away actually a couple months ago. But he was one of the more influential figures for me in my really early ages, 11 to 13 or 10 to 13, I guess, in that kind of stage. He was my first like AAA goalie coach, and I was actually pretty good friends with his grandson, still am, yeah, he was the first guy who, and no offense to Dave McKenzie at all, but Dave kind of was just like a step in to try to like support me and help me, but Rick was the first guy who really gave me like some foundational stuff in terms of goaltending and life in general as well. I remember he had these 10 rules that he printed out for me that I put in my stall every day, and I had to memorize the 10 rules.
What are they?
Huh?
What are they?
I'm gonna keep that to myself between Rick and I. May he rest in peace. He was very, like I said, very influential figure for me, and it's just kind of a special thing that I'll keep to myself. But yeah, so he was very important to me, and then Jon Elkin as well. Still to this day, Jon is probably he for sure is the most influential person in my hockey career, apart from my mom driving me to practice and my family supporting me through all of that. Apart from all that stuff, apart from the family side, Jon is by far the most influential guy to my hockey career. I started going to his camps when I was probably 11 or 10 maybe, here in Toronto, and yeah, I've just been kind of working with him ever since. He was my goalie coach in the Sioux briefly. He was here in Toronto last year briefly in kind of like an advisory role. But every summer, every off season, I've been working with him my entire career. He knows my game and myself better than probably anybody in hockey for sure. Other than my family, he knows me better than anyone. So he is. He was and still to this day, as I skated with him this morning. He definitely is the most influential coach that I've had.
Like, what age did you start working with him though?
So I went to his camp, like I said, when I was 10. He has like a summer camp. He's still doing it now.
But like when you're like one-on-one working with him?
One-on-one, probably started one-on-one when I was like 15, the year before I got drafted to the OHL, I would say.
And you driving from Thunder Bay to Toronto to work with him?
I would fly for like 2 weeks. My dad would come stay with me. We would stay at my uncle's place out in Etobicoke, and I would go to his camp for at least 1 week, sometimes 2 weeks, and then so we did that right from 10 years old. And at first I was just in the camp, and then when I got to a certain level and when I was trying to get drafted, started doing like one-on-ones or one-on-twos. I would skate with another guy usually. And And then, you know, even like I said this morning, I skated with Jon and a couple of shooters. So yeah, Jon's been. It'd be hard to put into words how influential he's been for my career, for sure.
Jon is the man?
Jon is the man, yeah. Have you met Jon? I
haven't, not yet.
No?
Almost the other day, but that wake-up call was a little bit too much for me in Brampton.
Yeah. We're skating early right now. But he's the definition of the man. He's, you know, influential in my life outside of hockey as well. So, yeah.
And also, on my own personal note, I think he's like the original goalie coach. Because I don't remember anybody posting like promo goalie coaching videos before him. Yeah. I remember some of the earliest YouTube goalie videos was Jon Elkin, School of Goaltending. This would have been like 08, 09, maybe 2010.
Yeah, I remember he had the videos. I used to watch the Gold in the Net videos back in the day. Do you know those?
Zach Sikic, I think. He had the 4-part DVDs.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the guy's name, but yeah, Gold in the Net I used to watch. I used to go to Rick St. Croix's goalie school a little bit as well.
Winnipeg legend.
Yeah, is he from Winnipeg?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know he did like Fort Francis and all these little northern towns, Thunder Bay, he would come. So I would do that whenever he would roll into town. And yeah, that's kind of like what I was saying earlier. Like your game is kind of this combination of so many things, right? Like there's definitely some Rick St. Croix somewhere in there, even though it was a long, long time ago. And then, you know, Dave McKenzie, Rick Evoy, Jon Elkin, like all these guys have had so much influence on me, and you know, and me as a person too. Like the person who I am is influenced a lot by those guys too. So you know, big shout outs to all those guys and to all, you know, hockey coaches, especially for young kids, because they are, you know, incredibly influential in a kid's life. I know they were for me. So.
And also Rick St. Croix, I don't know of anybody else at 7 years old that's thrown on full gear, doing butterflies and T-pushes at his own camps. Like most goalie coaches aren't throwing on full gear after 30.
Yeah.
This dude's 70 some odd years old, cranking them out, maybe not as fast as he once was, but man, mad respect to Rick St. Croix.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a legend.
Where does Mike Smith come into the picture for you, though?
Mike Smith? So Mike Smith was one of those guys who, like I mentioned, I would skate with. It'd be like a 1-on-2 with Jon. Mike Smith was a guy that I started skating with at a fairly young age. I had to get to a certain level before I was allowed on the ice with him. Because he's a little bit older than me, and he was always kind of the guy that at Jon's camps, you'd have like an ice session in the morning, and then like a dry land session, and lunch. And at lunch at his camps, that's when he would skate with his pro guys. And so Mike Smith was the big guy at the time, and I just remember, you know, eating my lunch kind of as quickly as I could so I can get out into the stands and watch Mike Smith go to work at practice. And eventually, you know, I studied him every time I was up in those stands, and eventually I got on the ice with him. And especially toward the end of his career and the start of mine, we were skating together pretty much every summer and training together a lot as well. And he's a guy that I got to watch a lot and just watch kind of how he operates and the shape that he kept himself in. Like his last year he was 40, I believe, right, when playing in the league, and like shredded as ever, always in like unbelievable shape, super strong, super fast, freak athlete, and yeah, just a guy that kind of paved the way for me, showed me kind of what it takes to be a pro.
One of my personal favorites as well.
Mike Smith, yeah.
Yeah, dude, so flashy, good style, the big glove saves, great masks.
Yeah.
Big playoff performer too. I know a lot of people disagree with me. I always found that when it came to playoffs with the Coyotes or even with the Oilers, like you needed a big save, Mike Smith gave it to you. Yeah. But when you're trying to shovel in your lunch, trying to go watch him, what age is this roughly?
When I was watching him at lunchtime, that was probably when I was like between 13 and 15, I would say.
And you're just glued to the ice watching him.
Yeah. No, I would, I think they'd be on for like an hour, 15 minutes, and I would push it right to the very end before I needed time, because we would go on when he was done with the rest of the camp. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just remember I would like push it right to the very last second before I started to get dressed so I could watch him. And there were some other guys too, but he was the one that kind of stood out. He was definitely the best one and the biggest name, and He was always very kind with his time when we were young kids as well. The way he would come over and say hi and sign autographs and whatever the case may be. I think at that time, taking pictures was not much of a thing, if I'm remembering correctly, because I don't remember ever getting a picture with him at that age. But I remember he signed something for me, and yeah, I just remembered the, you know, my biggest thought watching him was, man, I got a long way to go. Like, this guy's super good, and I am not super good, and I got a long way to go. So he was a big inspiration for me.
Was there something that stood out where you're seeing this and you're thinking, wow, he is so elite at this, I got a ways to go?
Just his, he had great hands. Like, he would play super deep and get away with it because his hands were so good. And his puck handling too. He would do some puck handling drills, and he was probably one of the best in history at puck handling. And when I would watch him, like, I remember he would shoot pucks down the ice. Like, Johnny, we still do this drill now where it's like a rim drill where you got to look at Johnny and he'll tell you where he wants you to put it, like whether it's a rim or a pass, or like at the end he always gives you one in the glove and you try to score a goal. And I remember watching Mike Smith do that, and he was like in the air putting it like in the top half of the net, and I was like, whoa, like that is crazy. I didn't even think that was possible at that age. And so yeah, he helped me a lot with puck handling. A lot of the puck handling drills that we would do, I was always a pretty dog shit puck handler for a long time early on in my career, especially like in junior. I would just get the puck and be like Bambi back there, like deer in the headlights. And both Mike Smith and actually Marty Turco, I spent a little time with in the Sioux too, and those guys were huge for me and helping to improve my puck handling to where I can get the job done now. I'm not going to be Igor Shesterkin throwing saucers to the far blue, but I just keep it simple, but I can definitely get the job done now, and that's credit to Mike Smith, Jon Elkin, and Marty Turco helped me a lot too.
There's a video a couple of years ago, like more towards the end of Mike's career, where for like morning skate, he'd be stopping pucks behind the net and then firing them up to try and hit the Jumbotron. And I don't know if this was like a regular thing or just a one-off, but I remember like every time he'd just glove it, throw it down, hit the Jumbotron, glove it, throw it down, hit the Jumbotron. And the strength and the skill to be able to hit that shot, I mean, like, you know how high the Jumbotrons are. They're super high up. Yeah. And this guy's just launching bombs.
Yeah.
So talented.
Yeah, I'd never seen a guy who could shoot the puck like him as a goalie. He could sling it, like I said, all the way down the ice and hit the top half of the net, which was pretty crazy.
Do you know what he's doing nowadays?
I don't know. I know he's a guy. He likes to stay busy, so I'm sure he's doing a lot. He's got 4 young kids too, so I'm sure they're keeping him busy. And probably, I think like most guys when they retire, is they start taking the dad role pretty seriously and getting involved in the kid stuff. So I would imagine, I haven't talked to him in a long time. And that reminds me, I'll probably reach out to him here soon. So thank you for reminding me to do that.
No problem.
But yeah, I would imagine he's enjoying the family life and just really getting involved in the whole dad thing.
You want to talk a little bit about that mullet for a second?
About my hair?
Your mullet 2012, dude.
We don't need to talk about that.
I might throw some pictures up on the video version if I can find them.
Oh my God, man, yeah.
That's some salad right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the thing back then, was the flow, they used to call it. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I was a pretty funny looking kid, but still am still am a little bit. But yeah, I don't know what I was thinking with that. I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
I think as a defenseman, it looks good when you're cruising down the wing and you got the flow kind of
like, it's flowing out the back, yeah.
The flow flowing, but as a goalie, you're not really getting that kind of momentum. And unless you're Trevor Kidd and a la 1998 with the Hurricanes.
Right. Yeah, you could be right.
There's not many guys that can pull that off. Although Smitty had some really, really good. He had a mullet actually towards the end of his career. Yeah,
Smitty had some long hair at times, but he had like that long kind of curly hair, which was great. Yeah, I don't know. Again, I was young, and I don't know what I was thinking with that.
I liked it. I can't talk. I had a mullet down to here like 2 years ago, dude.
No way.
Oh yeah. It was really bad. Yeah. When I was playing in Sweden, the guys would refer to it as my beaver tail in like a Swedish accent. Your beaver tails are hanging out, because it'd be down to here, and I'd be just in the net. Sometimes the guys would come behind the net and they'd like like pop up my hair like that. What the hell's going on back here? Yeah. Good times. But do you have a favorite rink to play in the NHL?
Probably MSG, I would say. Madison Square Garden in New York City. The Bell Center I like a lot too in Montreal. But Madison Square Garden just has this aura to it. I thought it was cool the first time I went there too, how the arena is on, I believe it's the 6th floor, I want to say, of the building, which is, I want to say it's the only rink where you go up when you get in the doors to get to the ice. And the roof there is beautiful. The atmosphere in there, it's just like, you couldn't, even if you tried to rebuild that today, you wouldn't get the same kind of character. So, and New York just has such a cool aura about it as a city in general too. And MSG is kind of like the heart of it. Penn Station right there. Times Square not too far down the block. So I would say if I had to pick one, MSG would be the one.
What's your favorite perk of playing in the NHL?
The way that we travel, I would say, is probably the best. The best thing about it. We stay at some great hotels. Like I said, we're very, very fortunate. Like, we get taken care of very, very well, especially here in Toronto. We stay at a lot of awesome hotels, and I'm a big like travel kind of fan, I guess you could say, like travel junkie. And I've really only traveled for hockey in my life because I just haven't had time. But I love watching like travel videos on YouTube, I guess you could call it, like airplanes and different hotels around the world and resorts and stuff like that. So I don't know, I kind of like geek out about that sort of thing. So yeah, I would say that the way we travel is probably the biggest perk.
That's awesome. Shout out to the Fairmont, Winnipeg.
Yeah, the Fairmont, Winnipeg.
Fairmont, Winnipeg, yes, sir.
Great spot.
I like that spot. Windiest corner in North America.
That's right, yeah.
What's your favorite perk outside of hockey of playing in the NHL? Like, favorite perk that you're granted? But now a quick word from today's video sponsor, Sheath Underwear. Sheath Underwear is the only option when it comes to staying comfortable for me. Their bamboo mesh will help your body breathe, stay cool, and aerated. Their dual pouch technology is game-changing for any man out there that know all about what it means to have something stick to the side of your leg or getting sweaty and nasty down there, but Sheath fixes all that. American-made and founded by a member of the U.S. military, Sheath is the only underwear I use and have worn for every episode in this series to date. I do a lot of traveling, by the way. And when you go to the link in the video description and use the promo code, you get 20% off the best underwear money can and ever will buy. And thank you so much to Sheath for sponsoring this video.
I would say the best is that you have a little bit of influence, a little bit more influence than you would otherwise to help and support like the causes that you find to be important. So you get to pick and choose what's important to you, and you have a little bit of a voice, not necessarily a huge one, but you get to use your position as an NHLer to be a role model and to support, advocate, push forward whatever kind of causes that you find near and dear to your heart. I would say that's definitely nice, because we all have things that are important to us, and it's nice to be able to support those things.
What's something near and dear to your heart?
Well, for me, a lot of it goes back to Thunder Bay, my hometown. So anything I could do around my hometown. I know I was involved with the animal shelter there for a long time. I did a big thing with, so my dad worked with I don't want to get too into the weeds because it's a little dark sometimes, so we don't have to put this part in. But yeah, so my dad worked with he did a lot of law work for like a child protection agency. And so I've done some work with them in the past. We had a massive donation when I was in Pittsburgh that was actually matched by a couple other groups, and we raised like well over $100,000 for this cause. And a lot of it for me is trying to get back to my hometown. It's a place that gets a bit of a bad rap at times, I think, but obviously a place that's very near and dear to my heart. And anything I can do to help there, I'll jump at the bit. So, anything that can help improve the lives of the people and, and the overall feeling of the city of Thunder Bay, I'm all ears.
Beautiful city too. Shout out to Thunder Bay. They have a nice little tribute in the Union Station in Toronto. They got Fort William and Port Arthur on one side, written into the walls on the one side, and then actual Thunder Bay. Really? Yeah, really cool on the walls. And then right in the Lake Superior, Prince Arthur Hotel, beautiful spot there, right in the water. Oh yeah, Thunder Bay's wicked.
You know your stuff. Good for you.
One thing we haven't even talked about though is, so your 2 Stanley Cup runs. I want to talk about 2016. You come in, you go 9-2-1, 930 save percentage in the regular season. You come in as the backup. You take over for Jeff Zadkov, Game 3 against the Rangers in MSG, as you mentioned earlier. You knock out King Henrik, arguably the greatest Swede of all time to ever play in between the pipes. You knock out the Vezina winner, Hart Trophy nominee, Braden Holtby in 6. Calm, cool, and collected. Big Ben Bishop, he gets replaced by Vasi. You knock him out in 7 games. And then Jones for the Cup. Like, you're coming in as a 21-year-old. Like, take me through, like, what's going through your mind in those experiences?
Not a lot, to be honest. It was such a whirlwind for me that I kind of just got wrapped up in it and just had great timing. Our team was phenomenal that year. We got hot at the right time, as a lot of teams do that end up winning the Cup. And, my timing just couldn't have been better. I think Flower had a concussion at that point, and that was the only reason why I was even there playing. Otherwise, I would have been down in Wilkes-Barre. That's why I played those last 9 games there at the end of the season, or whatever it was, 12 games. And ended up getting the call Game 3, like you said, in New York as a 21-year-old kid. My first playoff game, only a couple months after my first NHL game. And like I said, I just kind of got wrapped up in the excitement of all of it. And it even looking back at it now, it's kind of like a blur. I kind of blacked out for a couple months, just with all the excitement and all the pressure, all the nerves, everything that I was feeling. Kind of just like shut down for a couple months, and just was insanely focused on trying to get the job done. And trying to stick around really as long as I could. And our team just went on an absolute tear, and we're able to get through some really tough opponents, and got it done there in 2016 in San Jose. And the blackout continued afterwards, and I don't really remember a whole lot about it. Like I said, it was just such a huge whirlwind for me. 21 years old. I had a good year in Wilkes-Barre, but I wasn't expecting anything like that to happen. So, just the timing was incredible, and what a run we had. Sure enjoyed it, and then, very, very fortunately, got to do it again the year after that in 2017.
I mean, like, to put in perspective, to get a university degree is 4 years, and in less than 4 years, you went from being the guy with the mullet at the draft in 2012 to you're hoisting the mug as a 21-year-old. Like, to think about that, like, you got that done sooner than someone gets a degree done in university. That's pretty impressive. It's never been done before, especially on back-to-back years. Which is another question I got for you too is, Game 1, you tear your hamstring in warm-ups against Columbus. I'm also curious what you're doing for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you come back from a torn hamstring, and then you're ready to rock and roll for Game 3 against the Senators. I was watching some of the highlights the other night, just like chopping up clips for the video version of the show, and cool as ice. I think Flower gives up 4 goals, might have been 3 in a really short, rapid succession in the first period. Sullivan says, "Muzz, go in there," and you're like, "Yep, all right." Calm, cool as a cucumber, and like the body language you exhibit now is the same stuff that I see in the video then. Just, all right, just another day at the office is business. You got to go make some saves. Going to go make some money, go win a mug. Like, it gives me chills just talking about it, because watching it and getting to know you personally, I get inspired just watching it. But like, to talk about it out loud, like, it's so cool to kind of like piece everything together and connect the dots on that. Like, what's going through your mind in that situation?
After the hamstring injury I had?
After the hamstring injury, Sully gives you the nod, and you're back in the mix.
Yeah, well, I think, again, it was just, it came down to really fortunate timing for me. Flower played unbelievable. I remember Game 7, against Washington in the second round was the first time that I was back like on the bench. So that was the first time I was healthy enough to dress for a game. Flower played unbelievable the first round as well. Got us to the third round, and I just remember thinking, like, at the time we were down in the series, we were down big time in the game, and I just had nothing to lose. I just said, you know, here we go. Let's go out and play. The game, I believe, was already 5-1 at the time, or maybe 4-0. So the game seemed like it may be out of reach, and as a goalie, you can't score goals. So my goal wasn't to go in and win the game. My goal was just to go in and have fun, and it was my first game in a while, coming off of a torn hamstring. And yeah, I just you know, I just thought to myself, you know, I put in the work to get back from this injury, and you know, I've had a great team around me. Our guys are, you know, we can still get this done, but in that moment, especially in that particular game when I went in, I had nothing to lose, and so I was able to go on and play freely and felt really good, played well. We ended up losing, obviously, because we were down 5-1 or whatever it was. We lost that game, but then I got the call again the next game, and we won that one. Took that round to 7 games, and obviously Chris Kunitz scores the huge double OT winner to put us into the finals. And once that happened, we just had all the momentum in the world, because we just come back from being down in the series. And again, I was feeling good about myself. I was playing well and still felt like I had nothing to lose. So another instance of just really fortunate timing and a great team that gets hot at the right time, and good leadership, good coaches, just a great group, everybody coming together at the right time. And I was just, you know, very, very fortunate to be a part of it.
Now, this portion of the podcast is sponsored from the team at BetterHelp. Now, BetterHelp is an online therapy resource. They're a new sponsor for the show, by the way. And I've been using BetterHelp for about 7 to 8 months now, and it's incredible. They make therapy accessible and affordable in a way that's never been done before. It's as simple as going online, signing up. You can use your phone, iPad, laptop, any mobile device, and you get hooked up with a survey. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions, find out about your unique circumstances and scenario. Give them a couple of days. They're going to pair you with a unique therapist that's custom to your specific situation. And you just hop online, 30, 45, an hour session, whatever you're looking for. They do group sessions. They do individual sessions. It can really help to unwind some of, at least for myself personally, a lot of those inner childhood wounds, those inner childhood traumas, to try to make the best version of yourself. And whatever mistakes maybe be going on in your life, your marriage doesn't have to be falling apart, your life doesn't have to be in shambles to get a little bit of help. I think we can all use a little bit of help. And right now, if you're on the video version of the show, you go to the link in the description, click on that betterhelp.com/Bizkit. It's going to get you 10% off your first month of therapy, or use the code Bizkit. Apple, Spotify, same thing. Pull over and save to do so in the car. And your gym set, podcast and notes, betterhelp.com/Bizkit. And again, thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring the show. On a personal note, so you're going to the Cup final, Nashville, which also I really appreciate at the start of every series. They would build a custom Pittsburgh Penguins car and then smash it in the parking lot. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Like the Blackhawks car and then the Blues car. It was really cool, I thought. But so game 1, game 2, handle them easily. And then game 3 and 4. I've never seen you talk about this on any interviews or whatnot. I want to play a little audio for you. And I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear this.
I think I know what's coming.
That changes. It's all your fault.
What goes through your mind? Yeah. Because what job on planet Earth are you doing in front of 20,000 people telling you while you're at the office you're doing a really bad job?
Yeah.
How do you compartmentalize that?
It's tough. I just remember being honestly just in awe of the volume of it, for one. It became, kind of a thing in its own right there. And I feel like my name being, 2 syllables, it just fit perfectly into that chant. And it was just it was so precise. They were just so on point with it. It sounded great, and it was so loud, and it wasn't off. Everyone was saying it all at the exact same time, and it was it couldn't have been more perfectly orchestrated. And I just remember sitting there after getting scored on, God damn, that's kind of cool. Like, it is a really cool experience to play in a building like that, and to hear fans cheering like that, and to hear everybody in unison saying the same thing. It was like a really cool experience. And then you're like, oh wait, they're telling me how bad I suck. And so yeah, I don't know. I was just, the fact that maybe that helped me. The fact that I was kind of in awe of it, and it was like a choir singing. It was like there's something beautiful about it to me, as weird as that sounds. And yeah, I remember being like, those 2 games didn't go very well, and we heard that chant a lot. I remember, and thankfully we were able to regroup and go back home and get the job done at home. And then coming back into that game 6, I believe it was, I was kind of like, there's one way to not hear that chant again, and that's to to not let in any goals. And so I was like, wouldn't that be nice if we were able to keep everybody quiet in there? And thankfully we were.
Is there any like technical adjustments that you're making? Because you're going from game 3 and 4 where, if I'm remembering correctly, they were targeting your glove a lot, and then fast forward, shutout in game 5, game 6, they're targeting the glove again, and every single time you're making save, and then you finish with back-to-back shutouts. Like, what adjustments are you making there?
Yeah, so adjustments were minor, if anything. I think as a team, we just saw kind of what their game plan was going to be in games 3 and 4. I remember their team being very centered around the skill of their defensemen, and so their defensemen were creating a lot of the offense. So just picking up on that, being a little bit more aware of those guys, Yossi and guys like that, Ekholm, Ryan Ellis, Subban, seeing those guys trying to jump up in the play and looking for offense, and just trying to be more aware of it. So any adjustments you make are minor at that point in a series or in the playoffs. It's it's all very minor stuff that's going to get the job done. Really, at the end of the day, it's all probably mostly mental at that point. And just whichever team has a better mindset is going to come out on top.
Like, when I watch those highlights and I'm watching back the clips, I'm seeing calm, cool, in control, a big guy, right place, right time. Like, am I missing anything, or is that basically spot on?
I mean, you try. That's what you try. That's what you, that's what you search for sure. Sometimes it doesn't go your way, and sometimes you're a little bit off. But yeah, in the playoffs especially, the game simplifies in the playoffs, or it tends to, and it turns into a lot of just shots with traffic and volume over where the shot's coming from, and they're looking for rebounds and ugly, dirty goals. Power plays become extremely important at that point in the playoffs. So really, it's just about managing momentum, and I think that's what we did a nice job of both of those years. Is we got big penalty kills when we needed them, we got big goals when we needed them, and the team that manages the momentum swings the best usually ends up being the one lifting the cup at the end of the year. And we were lucky to do that, a couple years in a row there.
So where does TC Cummings come in?
Yeah, so TC is kind of like a performance coach. You could call him many things, but former Navy SEAL. He's a guy that I talk to once a week now, and a guy that I met at like a little goalie development camp that we used to do in Pittsburgh through my old coach Mike Buckley, and just a guy who is really an invaluable resource. You can't really put into words how much value you can get from a guy like that. One, just somebody that you can talk to, but also somebody to share their wisdom and share their experiences, and somebody to relate to you. And I'm not gonna get into too much detail about it, but he's a guy that has done wonders for me, in hockey, but also, and more importantly, just as a person, and helping me, find and discover and work my way towards being exactly who I want or hope to be. Yeah, he's just a guy that's also been very, very influential in my life, especially in the last few years.
Are you talking about like becoming the man you want to be?
Yeah, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but yeah, we can talk about it a little bit.
I know there's like an underlying message that I think a lot of people can learn from, Like to basically paint the story, you recommended TC to me, and some of the things that you had told me previous to meeting TC, I kind of like scratched my head at thinking, I don't quite get that. But after working with TC and being put in a position where, hey, you step on your crank hard enough, you're gonna have no choice but to learn. Oh, okay, this kind of makes sense. I get it now. Okay. Like, for example, like having enough respect for yourself to say, okay, I will tolerate certain things, I won't tolerate other things. And how can I put myself in a position for a win-win-win of everybody? Because if I'm winning, you're winning, and if me and you are winning, everybody wins. Yeah. Like, can you maybe elaborate just a little bit more? We don't have to get into specifics with TC. I know there's some things you want to keep private.
I just think it's important for everybody to have a person like that in their lives. Especially for me, once I had kids, and when I lost my dad, I all of a sudden became, the patriarch of the family, so to speak. With that becomes a lot of responsibility that maybe I wasn't ready for at the time. That TC certainly helped me out with a lot. I think, you just want to be, once you have kids, everything changes. So you want to be the best version of yourself for them, right? And for your wife and for your family. Because if you're not, it starts to affect other people as well. And so that was my main, my main motivator in reaching out to him. And like I said, I worked with him long before that as well. But he's been very influential for me in these most recent years, especially. Mostly in stuff that has nothing to do with hockey, just stuff to do with being a dad or being a husband or being a family guy. And, just finding exactly what it is that I want myself to look like the ideal version of myself, and working my way towards that. And, it's never perfect, but he's been, for sure a massive influence for me in that regard.
Part of that is being respect worthy.
Yeah, I don't really want to get into the specifics of my personal stuff with him, but it's just the overarching message is finding exactly who you want to be, and making sure that you take dead aim at that. And you're always gonna falter because you're human, but having a guy to keep you on track and keep you looking in the right direction, and sharing some wisdom along the way, and a guy that you can relate to, because for some of us it can be hard to find somebody to relate to, or somebody to talk to, or you don't feel like you're complaining, but you're just you're just trying to share wisdom with each other and trying to solve big problems, and just an invaluable resource, like I said, and one that I wish especially a young man to have.
I got a question for you. I heard this on Jordan Binnington talk about this on a podcast maybe like 2 weeks ago. He was talking about one of the big things that changed when he came to the National League and he started seeing some success was his approach to training, in the sense of, like, when you're playing junior, or you're playing the American League, maybe you're a little bit constrained by finances. Like if you're only making like 50, 60,000, whatever, or even that, like training's expensive, ice is expensive, right? All that type of stuff. Has that changed your philosophy towards training now?
The financial part of it?
Yeah, like is there anything specific in the training that has changed since having a little bit of that financial freedom from playing in the NHL for a while?
Yeah, I think the quality of the food that you're able to buy, it's kind of ass backwards in today's world, where like the best food is the most expensive, and the most natural food is the most expensive. The cheap stuff is the stuff that's the worst for you. So really, just the financial part of it, you get access to more. I would say you get access to more recovery modalities. So you can buy, like I said, the Normatec boots, or you can get yourself a cold plunge tub, or things that maybe, especially coming from Thunder Bay, there's not a ton of resources like that up there necessarily. If you live in Toronto, that's a different story. You can go to like a public rehab, recovery clinic, or they have all kinds of stuff down here. But for me, I never even had like treatment of any kind until I was in junior. Like I didn't even know that was a thing, that you get like massage, or you get like ART, or you get any type of acupuncture or anything like that. So I never had any treatment. and I had no regular treatment until I turned pro. I thought it was just like you do it once in a while, because it was just not something that I was exposed to growing up. So I would just say, to answer your question, I just think that as you become a pro, maybe you make a couple bucks, you just get more access to different modalities and better quality food. You know, if you want, you can hire a chef and get you like some real high quality stuff, cook you some real high quality meals, save you some time as well, so you have time to spend with your family. So yeah, like everything, it just gains you a little bit more access, I would say.
You got a chef?
I had a chef briefly last year, Andy Muto. Shout out to Andy Muto. He's a popular chef here in Toronto. He works with a lot of the hockey guys. A good friend of mine. I used his services a little bit last year. Not full time or anything like that, but with 2 young kids at home and you know, pretty busy, hectic schedule. He was cooking some meals for me for a while, and he's amazing. I'm sure a lot of guys watching may know Andy. So shout out to Andy Muto. He's one of the best.
Here's another really good one for you. So you got 2 rings. You've been very financially successful. You've accomplished a lot in your career as a professional. Like, what gets you out of bed in the morning?
I just think the challenge. I love a challenge, like in all aspects, and I don't think there's a bigger challenge than playing goal in the NHL. I think it's one of the hardest positions in sports. It's probably one of the hardest jobs, just in terms of its complexity and its difficulty. So I would say that at this point in my career, I just really enjoy a challenge. I enjoy being a part of something bigger than myself. I really enjoy being here in Toronto. You know, being here in Toronto really motivates me. Yeah, you know, you get to a certain point where, and money was never really a motivating factor, I wouldn't say. Winning the Stanley Cup was, for sure. Just being a part of something bigger than yourself, you know, being a part of a group that climbs to the mountaintop. Like there's not many better feelings than that. And you know, it was a great sense of accomplishment. But once you have it, you know, you need something that every day is going to be there. You know, not every day is a Stanley Cup final Game 7. So you need to love what you do, and you need to love the challenge of it. You need to love the ritual of it. You need to love the work itself. And so that's honestly what keeps me going at this point. Is, you know, I love the work itself. I love a challenge. I love pushing myself to try to find my limits. Otherwise, I feel a little bit worthless if I'm not pushing to my very limits. I start to feel a bit worthless. And like I said, just being part of a group that's all pushing towards the same goal. There's something very like poetic and very, you know, very fulfilling about that. And so I still do enjoy it a lot every morning.
That's one thing you kind of help compartmentalize for me. Is this was a little bit loose before we started, you know, having our friendship, but the idea of like achievement-based stuff, going out and like pushing the boulder up the hill, and whether it's, you know, for you trying to be the best dad you can, be the best husband, be the best goalie, best athlete, best man, whatever you want to, you know, put in there. I've always found the pursuit of that is what keeps me going. And once you achieve something, well, now what? Right? Like you win the cup. Okay, well, now I got to find something else to do. And whether it's, you know, going to the gym, trying to get your shoulder press PR, or, you know, trying to record a really cool podcast, or trying to get artsy stuff, or like whatever it is, like that achievement-based focus, I found you really help compartmentalize for me, and that's something that I love doing. So I owe you thank you for that. And I owe you thank you for a lot of things, man, like our friendship. And I've talked about it on the podcast a bunch of times. I wanted to say this more towards the end because I don't think anybody wants to hear it at the beginning, but you've really changed my life, man. I really do mean that.
Wow.
If I could, mind if I elaborate on that story? You want to keep that off the show?
Yeah.
So the way we met, basically, and I don't know, maybe you'll laugh at this, but the original version of the show, my co-host gave me an idea of, hey, like you should start like leaving comments on NHL guys' Instagrams and see if they can bite and get some interviews. Obviously, that didn't go very well. And then he said, oh, try the wives. The wives are the gatekeepers. The dudes aren't on social media, so the wives would be, okay, sure. So then ended up throwing a couple like flames or a couple flags out to anybody who would respond. And Christina was one of them. And then I think she responded 6 months later, said, hey, just talk to Matt. Here's his number. Give him a shout. He's looking forward to chatting with you. I'm like, oh, all right. This finally worked, which was great. And then we kind of developed our relationship a little bit over the last, I guess, year and a bit it would have been. And then for myself personally, we'd set up to go golfing last summer on my way from Vancouver to off the season in upstate New York with my missus at the time, and then me and her versus you and Christina to go golfing. And I remember I texted you, and I know you're laughing, but I mean, it is kind of funny, but I remember texting you saying, hey man, like, I don't think we can go golfing because, we had a pretty nasty breakup and that's not really going to work out. And then, you and me ended up chatting about a couple things maybe we'll leave off the podcast, but you basically just said, hey man, I think, you could get some help from TC. I think that you're missing a couple things, and that.
No, I didn't frame it like that. You're not missing anything, man. You're great. You're great. Don't get that twisted.
At the time, I think it was more focused around if you're a man that gets better at being a man with having some coaching from TC, right, about just being a man coach. I think you really benefit from this. And I was at a position where I'm like, man, like this is not a good situation I've put myself in. Everything is my fault in this situation. As a man, everything in your life is your fault, I believe personally. And that, okay, I'm ready to listen, right? If the student's ready, the teacher appears. And then you saying, hey, like, I got you hooked up with TC, have a meeting, let's see where it goes. And then him kind of changing my whole perspective and kind of steering me in the right direction, whether it's business, podcasting, hockey, relationships, you name it. TC's turned everything on its head for me, and I owe that to you, man. I owe you a big thank you for changing my life and helping me. I really mean it, man.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, man. I appreciate you, and appreciate you taking care of me on these podcasts and always looking out for me. And
you're my boy, dude. Whatever, always go to bat for you.
Whatever I can do to help you out, man. I just love your approach to life. You're always looking to improve, and that's why I thought maybe you'd be interested in a guy like TC. Not a lot of people are at the point where they would even think to try something like that. So kudos to you for doing it. I'm glad it worked out for you.
I think you just got me at a good time where I was ready to listen to anybody for a little bit of help here.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And just, right, the student's ready, the teacher appears. Here's you recommending TC with a situation where I'm ready to listen and learn, and it couldn't have been a better timing.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, man. I'm glad to hear that.
So I owe you a big thank you for changing my life, and the fact that, like I mentioned off the top of the show, that you're willing to reach out and say, hey man, I want to do a show together, that you're trusting me to tell your story. I know we got to shout out a couple things here, but it's an honor, man. It really means a lot, especially when you haven't done an in-person show with anybody else before, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I don't make it a habit of doing this type of stuff. Like I said, I don't make it a habit of talking about myself too much. I'm not really interested in everybody knowing all that much about me, but I just like you, man. I think your approach to life is great, and yeah, you've been nothing but good to me. We've become pretty close over the last couple of years, so appreciate you doing this. Appreciate you, giving me a chance to show myself a little bit more than usual. And yeah, I'm happy that everything's working out for you, man. Thanks for saying that.
We're gonna finish the show with a little kumbaya.
Yeah, we can skip that.
Let's. Why don't we do in the words of Sean Evans from Hot Ones? His camera's here. What do you have coming up? What are you looking forward to? Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, I gave a shout out to all my old coaches. Shout out to Christina. I don't know if she'll watch this or not. I definitely won't be watching this. I hate watching myself, but I love watching all of your stuff. And yeah, I'm just excited. I got a couple more weeks, maybe another month here of really focusing on the dad stuff and the family stuff, and just really enjoying that before we start getting going here in August. Usually start ramping up, and so yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting back home and seeing my kids. I've been away from them for a little while here now, so I'm really looking forward to that. Spending some time with them and with Christina, and getting going again this season.
I got one more. This is the last one, and this will blow the roof off the building if I haven't already. Big shoulders, upper body muscle as a goaltender. You've inspired me with that as well. I remember we talked about last summer, like you putting on some weight. I think it was 2018. maybe 2019?
I put on a lot of weight. If you go back like to the Sioux days, I put on a ton. But yeah, since I was in the Sioux, I'm probably like almost 50 pounds heavier than I was back then. Why? Well, a lot of it is just you know, the usual growing up type of stuff. I was still you know, still a child back then. Really, I was the same height I am now, but I think I was like 6'4", like 170 at one point.
How long have you been 6'4"?
Probably like around 16, 17. Yeah, I would say I probably stopped growing around then. But yeah, so since the Sioux, I put on, yeah, I guess about 50 pounds or so, 45, something like that. But yeah, I think there's a balance. You never want to be too big. You never want to carry around too much weight out there. The more weight you have, the harder it is on all your joints, and the wear and tear may be accelerated, but you definitely need to be strong enough to have quick hands, especially for me having such long arms. I need to be strong enough to be able to move these long arms as quick as possible, right? Yeah, so I just think general strength is important, you know, for life too, not just for goaltending. But I think any man should try to focus on you know, on being in good shape. So, but yeah, there is a balance to go with goaltending as well. I don't think you never want to be too big either.
I found it's really helped with my hands specifically, because as you know, growing up, all you hear about is do some squats, do some hinges, do some deadlifts, all just single leg lower body. Nobody talks upper body outside of maybe a little bit of core. But you inspired me. Every single workout I do, there's always shoulders. Every single time, shoulders. Because you look at a guy like Bob, his hands are always engaged, are always in position, right time, right place. He's always making saves, which I found I'm a lot more stable because of that, which again, I owe a big thank you to you. And you know, a lot of people may not like that, but realistically, like, you need some upper body muscle. You need to kind of balance out the whole chain. Now, kind of like the hip issue, if something's weak, eventually someone's got to snap down the chain.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah.
I think you got to be strong everywhere to play goal, not just legs and core, but those are definitely the two most important, though, I would say.
Wow. Well, dude, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. It's been fun. I mean, shout out to the Royal at York. I mean, they hooked us up and, you know, allowing us, dude, recording in this beautiful room. It's been almost a century old.
It is beautiful in here for sure.
I mean, your office is right across. I'm looking at where you work right there. It's pretty nice.
You can see Scotiabank from here. Yeah, great view from up here. Great spot. Shout out to them for letting us do it here.
Didn't even charge a penny. Also, great coffee too. Good cup of Joe and the house-made honey on the rooftop. But anyway, thank you very much, everybody, for listening to the show. This is, you know, my interview with Muzz, and part 1, part 2. I think this might end up being a 2-parter, but dude, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming down and trusting me with this, and I hope that everybody loves the finished product. And if you have any future questions, because hopefully we'll do it again maybe in a year from now, leave them down below. We'll circle back to them in 2025. And if you're on the YouTube video version, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. I'd love to know what you think. If you're on the Apple or Spotify version, come over to the YouTube version and see how big Matt's shoulders are. You can get some context what we were just talking about. But my name is Travis Ridgen. I'm your favorite minor pro FPHL, former FPHL goalie. That's Matt Murray, and we'll see you next Sunday. Thanks for watching.
Beautiful. Oh, not bad.